This is Melissa with the StockSwoosh.com and welcome. I am doing a video right now on a trade that I did not do today. Saw this though this morning and I did have conviction it would play on through. And then I saw it in the first couple minutes of the day and I said, oh, this is going to work. And I looked at the volume and it had like 40,000 shares or something and I just stepped away from it. And really never came back to it until it was really too late. This was good. If I had stuck with this today and gotten the whole thing, I would have had a good day with this too. I did the GLDX instead, but this really ended up playing out very nicely. So let's look at it. And, you know, many times with the continuation gap, the volume does not come in right away, so you cannot take the trade immediately, and you have to wait for the later setup. And this gave it. Now, if you didn't know exactly where to add in this to take it or put the stop, you didn't get in for this whole ride because it's set up kind of sloppy. What am I looking at here? I'm looking at a chart that is in a nice position to fall and should break on through under here next week. Really like it. Liked it ever since it actually failed on the gap back here. Liked it here, liked it all along. I've been liking this for a while. This is just another beautiful example of the golden gap. This Mlnx has had beautiful, fantastic moves every time it's felt like doing it. It has never done one thing wrong. I mean, talk about reading the trend in a chart correctly. If you read this correctly, you got a nice move on this and a huge payout. And this thing has lost and dropped more than half its value in, 6-7 months. And it's lower. But, it's lower. Here. For 38 bucks, 37.50. Really nice. This is a nice swing trade. It's a nice core trade. It's a nice day trade every time it sets up. And today was one of those days. And it just hung on here like a little teeny weeny bopper in the morning. I saw it ready to drop. Just was too thin to do out of the gate and then moved on to other stuff. But let's look at it. And really, actually, let's just look at the one, but the setups to do on this are in the 5 because, once again, you don't want to get in this too soon. But when I saw this happening here, it had low volume, but it was showing its hand even right away. Now it rallied up, and guess where? Held 55. Beautiful chart. Really nice. Look at this thing. Best risk to reward though really was in the right before lunch. But you could have done this on the 5 here. Now the problem is this looks like a tick. It is a tick. This is very thin here still, thin even still into 10 o'clock. The volume started to come into the drop down. So you got to be careful with your sizing with this thing. But it triggered. At this point though, because it's so thin, the stop really has to be over the high of the day. Okay, so you have to size yourself accordingly. So the stop would have been a little big because you can't trust this topping tail here, and certainly not this tick, when the volume's this thin. So you take it. And when you're taking this, you're knowing that the target's at least $1 or more. I mean, the target in this trade today was $52 and it got way past it. Target was $52 and it got past it. So you're in this here. Then if you're looking to try to find an ad, okay, there really was no clean ad in here. There really wasn't. Here you could have taken an ad. Here you could have taken an ad. This is deep into your price though. You could have done it though because it had a clean stop and it still had a $1 target. And this was the best play in this here today. 10-cent stop. It dropped $1.40. 10-cent stop. It dropped $1.40. So you take this trade whatever you feel like taking with the risk, okay? By this time, though, by the time it runs down here, by the time it's all the way down in here, you made $1.40 on whatever you took, okay? So you are up money, and you can do a new trade here. So you get all out of that trade, do a new trade, or do an ad and cost average your price in. But either way, this is a huge trade. A 10-cent stop, and it dropped down $1.40. That's a 14 risk to reward trade. So I was in the GLD, so I didn't go back and look at this until after the fact. And I'm going over this now actually for a student who liked this, who eyeballed it today, and he gave up here. He gave up here and killed the trade. I don't know if he had to stop here or just killed the trade because of this boop up here. But the fact is, this isn't a good, you can't put your stop here. This isn't any, this is nothing. This is not a setup. This isn't anything. This is, actually, you could have taken this trigger when it triggered under here. You could have done it, but this really isn't clean. It's not clean for its trade or the setup. You could have done this here. You could have entered under 67, but there was no real place to do anything here at all, really. And I'm not sure really where he took it, but I think he got booped out of this here. The problem is this was too thin. This was too thin here, so it wasn't trading like nicely. So even if you had said, I'm going to get some in here, the problem is there's really no place to put the stop except for here. Maybe here, and even this is pushing it. It's really got to be here. You know, lately with these things, I'm noticing more and more and more and more and more. If the gaps cooperate, you get beautiful, beautiful stops and entries with a great risk to reward. But either if the gap does not cooperate, you've got to give it the wiggly jiggly room. And how do you know? You know as soon as it opens. As soon as it opens with the volume, the setups, what it does, if it plays it out, if it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. That's how you know. Okay, and if you don't know, you have to learn. And the continuation gaps, though, you usually do have to wait for those. You usually do have to wait for those. Now, if the volume had been in this more in the morning, that you would have been no waiting on this. It actually had a clean price that it traded. It did everything cleanly this morning with the numbers, but the volume was not there. Therefore, the bars weren't solid enough to hold. And you have to go by the numbers. What are the numbers? The numbers would have been here. Okay. And really, honestly, it really wasn't even the high of the day. The number really would have had to be even if you'd taken this over 55, because you can't really trust this because it's nothing. Do you know what I'm saying? There was not enough volume in here. And you got to use the numbers. The reason that this was so beautiful, the reason this was so fabulous, the reason this trade worked so good in here was, guess what? Another number. Tried to get up here and get over 53. Couldn't do it, couldn't do it, couldn't do it. Broke under 53 and fell like a rock. So this worked because of that. And even this here, if you're looking at this, the reason this worked, okay, that this made the crash that started this one that broke under the low of the day and then fell was because guess what? Tried to get over 54. Got 5 cents over it, got smacked right down on top of it, and ran hard. So those are the things to be looking for. Those are the signs. Those are the signals. This is lower. This is lower on Monday. This is a beautiful, beautiful, nice continuation gap in Mlnx. Had this on the list this morning. Did something else instead. Could have very well done it. Beautiful trade in here. Got to watch the volume on these in the morning. If something's a new gap, it typically has the volume right away. This has volume on the day. You know it's going to get it. But to go in right away, I don't want to be, 5-10% of the volume. I got to, that's, or 20% or something. That would be silliness. So, I want to be like a dink in, in the volume of any stock with whatever position I feel like taking it at any given time, even in the morning. And that means you can't get in when something's tiny, tiny thin. But this really didn't do anything wrong at all today. And look, it just bled all day. I mean, this absolutely bled all day from 10 o'clock on. And it was beautiful. So this is Melissa with the stock swoosh.com. This is Mlnx continuation gap from Friday, May 31st. This chart is lower. It has been lower. This is a beautiful swing trade, a beautiful core trade, a beautiful day trade. Every time it sets up, this is a great example of the rating system that I teach, the 26 golden gap points, the rating system I teach, and how this thing can pay you. This is just a beautiful, beautiful example. You take the first gap in this, it pays you, you add and subtract every gap down. I mean, the first gap here was here, second gap was here, next gap was here, followed through, continued here, gap down even on this day, even though the day that it did it failed. Gap down again in here, gap down again today. It's going to gap down again. This isn't even at the target, okay? This is lower. And just a beautiful reason why to take my class and to learn my rating system, to know what this is doing, to read it, to see it, to be able to predict what it's going to do before it actually does it. So nice gap today in Mlnx. This is Melissa with the Swoosh.com. If you're interested in more information on how to read trends, I'm doing an upcoming class on trends this week, June 5th and 6th. Contact me for more information at Melissa at the Swoosh.com. Have a great weekend, everyone.